Okay, welcome to Martini's Live again. I lost my connection, and I'm just gonna start over, so I can get the whole thing. I don't want to have to edit it or anything. So I was talking about Rosemary's Baby and the movie in the late '60s where Rosemary had a baby, but she had been impregnated by the devil, and the baby was, oh my God. And I took my wife to it when she was pregnant with their son, and she's never forgiven me, and our son grew up loving horror movies. So anyway, I want to talk about the Republican Party and why it failed to pass the signature health care bill repealing Obamacare that it had been saying it was going to do for the last 7 or 8 years. And I want to look at it from a different perspective, from a Zen perspective, which is the way I look at things. That doesn't tell you much, because what's a Zen perspective? But I do look at the play of opposites, the yin yang. Okay, now this is a dynamic image. It's not a static image. It really is a dynamic image that these two are chasing each other. They're going around and around and around, each one trying to eat the other one up in order to achieve the one. The black one wants to make the whole circle black, and the white one wants to make the whole circle white, because reality is one. You see, peace, unity, reality is one. Reality is not two. The commandment of the universe is let there be one. There is not two universes. There's not two yous. You do not have two minds. You don't have two souls. There is one. But we experience reality as a conflict of two. So I want to look at this conflict of two that is dysfunctional in the Republican Party. So we need to understand why it's dysfunctional, you see. If you look back a little history, at the '60s, the nation's psyche split into two parts, subjective and objective. The subjective, now this is two views. Now understand this. We have, and we all know this, we just haven't defined it. But we perceive the world with from two viewpoints, both of which are valid. One is subjective, one is objective. Now the subjective value is me. I look at the world from the inside, my feelings, my pain, my joy. These are subjective values, subjective view. Then the objective view is the world is it. So you're in it, everything's in it, even I'm in it, you see. So that's objective. I'm viewing the world as if I'm outside of it, looking at everything as in it. So the objective view puts me outside of the world like a scientist. So I'm looking at everything objectively like in it. But I don't look at the viewer. I don't look at me. So the scientist in the objective view, or the journalist, views the world objectively, but they don't view themselves in it. They're outside of it, so you can look at it. If you want to look at this, you can't look at it as the yin yang. You have to look at it as an object. But if you were writing poetry, you might write it from inside of this, you see. So the subjective view is art, metaphor, poetry, value. So that looks at the world from the inside. So you got the inside and the outside, subjective and objective. So when the Republican Party became the value party, and we all remember, I remember when this happened. It happened when they invited the Southern evangelicals into the party, to the likes of the televangelist and Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson. And this was a new church, if you recall. Before cable, before TV, you had physical churches in your neighborhood. But suddenly, now you had a national church or you just tuned it on Sunday morning. You just turn it on, and there was this charismatic preacher, and they were building these mega churches, 10, 15, 20,000 people. It's on TV. This is a huge change in religion. And so that network of teaching values, this was a value system. Religion is a value system. That's what religion does. It teaches value. The problem with the objective view, which is the liberal, secular, humanistic, Western civilization dominant view. This view is a scientific view. It created civilization, the Western civilization. It's been very successful since the Enlightenment. During the Middle Ages, you had both of these views mixed together. Couldn't tell them apart. Science was both subjective and objective. It's called alchemy. There is no way to separate the scientist from the work. Now we separate them, and the scientist is separated from the work. So it's objective, and it's true because other scientists will come in and repeat his experiment. If they can repeat what he did, it's true for the time being until somebody else comes and disproves it. This is a relative knowledge. But religion deals with absolute knowledge, you see. Religion deals with your value, and you want your values to be permanent. You see, it's not relative, it's permanent. Values are, the reason to have a value is because you won't lose it today. It can't be bulldozed. It's permanent. Principle, value. These have been the hallmark of the modern Republican Party. Principle, value, permanency, stability, meaning. See, values give meaning. Science doesn't give meaning. Science tells you how to do something. It doesn't tell you what your personal purpose is. It doesn't tell you why you're here. It just says you're an accident. It just says you're among other species bumbling around in evolution. It's not a personal view, you see. I want to know why I'm here. What's the meaning of life? Well, who am I? What am I, you see? So if I want to know what am I, and if I want to know how to fit myself into the world as something that has meaning, I'm going to religion. I'm not going to go to secular humanism, you see. So, but the secular humanism, liberal secular humanism, built the framework, built the world that we're living in and depend upon. And this TV, this instrument here, and our comfort, all of this has been built by secular liberal humanism. Okay, so there's a tremendous conflict here. You call it a conflict between faith and reason. It's an ancient, old conflict, but it's been coming back on steroids now. So let's kind of look at how it happened. So when the Republican Party, after Nixon crashed the Republican Party, and well, actually, it was Nixon. It was called the Southern Strategy. But tell you what crashed was civil rights. Civil rights broke the Democratic Party, the Solid South, and the Southern Democrats, now exiled from the Democratic Party because of segregation, were wandering around, you see, looking for a home. And Nixon invited them into the Republican Party. If you remember, who was that? I can't think of his name right now, but the Segregation Forever guy, you know, who got shot. But the Segregation Forever was an independent one. He took that Southern Democratic faction off, you see. And so the Republicans brought him in. So when you brought the Southern Democrats in, you also brought in Southern Baptists and evangelicals. It's all the same package. And they bring in values. Segregation is value. Segregation is not just a law, it's a value law. All right? The whole South was built on value. The North was built on pragmatism. So you have this conflict between pragmatism, which is what's the best way to get the job done, and the other view is what's the best way to keep our values. So you've got this Pragmatism, get the job done anyway. I don't care how you get it done, just get the job done. And the other one is, well, wait a minute, I got values. I want to protect values and my center. I want to have a place in the world. I want to have meaning. I want to have connection with the world, you see. I want to have God. I want to have connection and meaning and purpose. You know, and the other side is there's a conflict here, you see. So that becomes the conservative movement, is to hold on to values. You see, conserve means conserve values. So this keeps morphing, evolving along, you see. So Obama comes in, and he came in kind of like as the democratic savior who was going to bring, of course, remember now, the country is deadlocked between these two yin and yang. This is going around, you know, every decade it's still like this, you know. Values, pragmatism, values, pragmatism. Nothing gets done. Back and forth, 50-50. Equal, like two tomcats that can't end the fight. Or a soccer team that can't score. Back and forth, wow, 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 wow. Driving us crazy. We got to get unity. We got to restore America, you see, to unity. So this is going like this, you see. So the first attempt to break out of it was Obama. He was black, and he came in and said, and he came in on the wings of One America. So this was a liberal hope of restoring America to one, which would be the balance of the races and the individual rights, you see. And so the Republican Party then, being a value party, and another thing about values is that values are relative. We think they're absolute, but they're not. They're relative. They're relative to me, and they're relative to my group. Values are not universal. If they were universal, everybody would have the same value. But they're relative, so they're relative to my group. So if my group gets into power, I'm going to impose my values on the whole, you see. And that's a theocracy. You know, sorry, that's not liberal secular humanism, because there's no values in secular humanism. It's all pragmatism. There's no personal values in there, you see. There's rights. Now that's a value, but there is no values that are like family values. Well, you know, I don't know, in a way you do. You have both parties having rights, the individual rights of LGBT, of gays, of women, or whatever. So the left is going to promote individual rights, and the right is going to promote, which is a value, but also the right is going to want right values that oppose the left. So when you get values, a value is defined by its opposite. Think about that. A value is what you like. Okay, so I like a certain type of cake, but I don't like other cakes. So the cakes I don't like define what I like. So what I like here is defined by the opposite. And this is what the GOP did during the Obama years. They defined themselves by being not Obama. They didn't say what they liked. They just said, I'm not Obama. You see? And so we can do the same. It's flipped now, and now the liberals can say, well, I'm not Trump. So there's a continuation of the values war when you don't define yourself and you just say, I'm not the other, you see. But values are likes. I like my values. They're personal, and they are determined by my heritage and by my conditioning, you see, by location. The South has different values from the North, you see, or my town, or my family, you see, family values, you know. All these things are personal values that are determined by myself and my group. And they're defined by the others. So when you have values, you always have conflict. You always have violence. Hatfields and McCoys, you know. All the conflicts are conflicts of values. So you could call them religious conflicts, religious wars, or value wars, you see. And they're the fight for the center, the one center. you have to get rid of the other side to become one. For the yang to become one, it has to get rid of the yin. For the yin to become one, it has to get rid of the yang, you see. This is a violent solution to a value war. And this cannot be sustained because it's like when you stick a microphone next to an amplifier, it goes wow, 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 wow. There's no stopping it until you pull the plug, turn it off. Okay? This is a panic attack. A panic attack is when the mind is split into two views, neither of which can become the one view. They're both valid, but they're opposite. So you go, wow, I can't choose. I can't choose left or right. I can't choose yin or yang. Wow, 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 wow. I got to be one, but I can't choose. What do I do? So I get a savior. I get somebody to come in and fix it. So Obama came in to fix it, but he couldn't fix it. So the other side took over, and there was a new fix. Now, this is my view from the viewpoint of this context or this perspective now. So it doesn't need to go off into all kinds of other views because they're all valid. You see, I'm just looking at this one perspective. And so Trump comes in as a transcendent, to get out of the oscillation of the pair of opposites that can't choose either one or the other, there has to be a transcendent solution. You have to transcend it. You have to create a new order. You have to create a new idea that contains and resolves the two. So I'm just flying here, so hang on with me. So Obama was a solution to the gridlock, you see, a liberal solution, but he became not Obama. There was no crossing the aisles and compromise. The country can't work without compromise. These two cannot work without compromise. But when you have values, when your core is value-oriented and the other one is the evil, you see, you can't compromise with evil. So and we watched this during the Obama years when Obama became the personification of Satan. And he was connected up with government. Government is evil. Obama's evil. Obamacare is evil. And you see, if I'm not Obama, you see, then my values become not Obama. So all my values then are based in not being government or not being Obama. Government is bad, and so not government is good. So good means deconstructing or destroying government. And you get the Oklahoma bomber who wanted to destroy the federal government. So this becomes a mythic war. This becomes, for weak minds, it becomes a invitation for great violent acts in order to solve the tension and the pain of the oscillating mind and national consciousness. Destruction, self-destruction, annihilation is the way to get out of here. A panic attack for an individual, a nervous breakdown for an individual, schizophrenia, psychosis is the way to get out of it. This is a breakdown or when our mind goes into an oscillation like this, we lose our self, we lose our me, we lose our center. And that's worse than death. We have to stop it some way or the other. And unless we come up with a creative solution that creates a transcendent whole that contains and transcends this opposites, a new being, a new baby, we just go to self-destruction. There's only way out, creativity or destruction, because it can't be sustained. So I think Obama was an attempt to get out, but it failed because he was just absorbed into the vortex of values versus pragmatism, right versus left, and it became magnified. People said it got worse under Obama. Well, sure, it got worse under Obama. It wasn't Obama's fault, but he just fed into this. He added a personality into this vortex And if you remember, Trump was the first one to start spinning it. Obama is a birther. He's illegitimate, you see. So this is an illegitimate president. So he spun that and he saw the contraction. So then when he ran, you see, he ran as a savior to restore America to its wholeness. And he made an interesting compromise or interesting combination that I think is why he got elected. He is a combination of a subjective and objective value pragmatist thing, you see. So he was promoting pragmatism. I'm a businessman and I can get things done. That's pragmatism. Get something done. I know how to make things work. I'm going to be the best, you see. But at the same time, he was giving values for his value supporters. So he was giving values and pragmatism, which were contradictions. They're incompatible forces. It's subjective and objective, trying to smack and become one, but they will not fit together because they are totally different views. You see. So he presented himself as a solution, but we're watching what happens when now the poor GOP, having been stuck in gridlock, out of power for a decade, 2 decades, a decade, got power. They figured, well, now we can do something. The president's got our back. He's got the energy. He's got the charisma. He's got the people. We can do something. But the poor GOP has also split itself, you see. It became Rosemary's Baby. Because you have a faction in the GOP that's value-orientated, and you have a faction in the GOP that is pragmatist. They just want to get something done, but the other wants value. Now take that Freedom Caucus. Freedom is a value. It's not freedom for everybody, it's freedom for me. Freedom is a value, you see. If everybody's free, it doesn't have any value. Everybody's free. But if I'm not free, then there's a value for me to be free. So Freedom Caucus is valuable because it comes from a feeling of not being free, and the government is the cause I'm not free, so I'm going to take apart the government. So whatever you do about pragmatism, I'm going to say no. That's the way that works. I'm maybe a martyr, but at least I'm standing up for my values, you see. But nobody gets anything done. But I got my value, you see. So, so Trump's caught so both are caught in a double bind. The GOP is caught in a double bind because one wing is flapping values and the other wing is flapping pragmatism, and they're going in opposite directions. So the bird's going in a circle. It's dysfunctional. And Trump is dysfunctional because in his personality, he's combining objective and subjective. So the subjective is his alternate facts world, his story world. He's living in a it's called narcissism. He's living in a subjective world, and everyone else is living in an objective world. So we look at it objectively and say that's not true, and he's looking at it subjectively from values and says that is true because it's my value. You see? So he's looking at it from values. Everything he talks about is value. The biggest, the greatest, the tremendous, these are value words. Big is not it's not inches. It's not how tall is it, it's big. That's a value. It's big because it's not little. He's a winner. Winner is a value. Winner is not how much did you win. No, it's a winner because I'm not a loser. You see, so he is a value that is defined by what he's not. So he has to maintain this value reality, you see, which those in his supporters valued because it made them feel valued. So we're going to be valuable together. All get under the same tent and be valuable. But now his subjective world is in conflict with the objective world, which is journalism. So he's right in saying the journalism is against them. They are. They're objective, looking at facts, and he's subjective, looking at story. It's story versus facts. So he's in a double bind. He's not going to be able to do anything. And the GOP's at a double bind because their own caucus is a value caucus, or there's a majority of them. And the Democrats are just sitting on the side watching this show. Now, here's my suggestion. I wish Trump would listen to this. But if Trump would cut away the dysfunctional element of the GOP, the Freedom Caucus, and the value Republicans, and hook up with the pragmatic Republicans, and make a coalition with the Democrats, if he did that, and dropped his own value view and just went totally pragmatism, which is the business part of him, totally pragmatist, create a coalition with the Democrats and the pragmatic Republicans, that would break the whole 50-year gridlock, and America would be restored again. But if he doubles down on it's Obama's fault and the Democrats' fault, and they don't like me, and I'm a winner no matter what, it's going to go on till he's impeached or has a nervous breakdown. He won't. At 70 years old, he can't maintain that for 4 years. So anyway, here's my. This was my view. So we'll come tune in to Zen Live tomorrow morning. We'll see where that goes. And I hope this stayed connected. It seems to.